Our Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwarube says over 96% of the school pit toilet backlog has been cleared. Gwarube praised the progress, adding that work continues to urgently eradicate the remaining pit toilets. Monday marked the department's deadline for pit toilet eradication. Now, their elimination at public schools has been an ongoing battle, with the department, committed to ensuring that schools have proper sanitation.
I'm here to announce today that the final tally of where we are as we finish the end of the financial year is that 96% of all safe schools have been eradicated to date. And so I'm going to do a provincial breakdown of the statistic. Gauteng, Northern Cape and Western Cape had no pit toilets that were identified when the audit was done in 2018. Northwest had 72 pit toilets that were identified, and they've eradicated 100% of them. Mpumalanga had 111 pit toilets that were identified in 2018, and they've eradicated 100% of them. Free State had 105 identified schools with pit toilets, and 100% of them have been eradicated. Limpopo had 391, and they've eradicated 390 of those, and so one project remains. KZN had 1,254 schools that was identified in 2018. 1,209 have been eradicated. 45 still remain. This translates to an eradication rate of 96%. The Eastern Cape had 1,439 pit toilets that were identified in 2018. It has eradicated 1,343, and 96 pit toilets or projects remain. That translates to 93% of eradication.
Let's talk about this a little bit more. Genevieve Quintal is the Amnesty International SA and joins us now as well to unpack this. Genevieve, thank you so much for the time. Is any number other than 100% good enough?
Good evening, Arabile. Thank you for having us. And no, it's not. I think we need to go back in history and look at the history of pit toilets in schools and what has been promised by the DBE. We have been waiting for over a decade for these pit toilets to be eradicated, and starting in 2016, and we are almost a decade, and still they haven't been eradicated. Plain pit toilets were banned in South African schools by the minimum uniform norms and standards for public school infrastructure in 2013. Already then, they had to be removed and replaced by 2016. That was the first deadline. And since then, the deadline has just been shifting and shifting. It shifted again, I think, from 2016. Then there was 2018, they did the audit, and we had the SAFE initiative, which is the pit toilets that the minister is talking about now. Pit toilets that fall in schools, they're part of the Sanitation Appropriate for Education initiative. It's called SAFE. Then it got shifted again, that they would eradicate pit toilets by 2020. Here we are, and then last year, 2023, end of February 2023, a new deadline was set for last year. Here we are, 2025, April 2025, and we're still not at 100%.
What's stopping us? What's hindering progress on this? Why, after 7 years, is this so difficult, especially when a budget has been put in place for it, there's communications have been made for it, and as you said, there've been targeted deadlines, plus it's been made, it's something that can't actually happen in our schools anymore.
Absolutely. I think, Arabile, the minister said today, spoke a bit about the issues of contracts, etc. And that's all good and well. We can have all these excuses of what's happened with the contractors, people not doing their jobs, etc. But then where's the accountability? Who is to blame? Where does the buck stop? I mean, like I said, this has been going on for almost a decade, and we still have schools with pit toilets. And what's really concerning, Arabile, is that although the minister says of the SAFE initiative, there are only 141 schools that still need pit toilets. They say they've done 96%. That's not all the schools in South Africa that are using pit toilets. There still needs to be another audit to see what schools were missed. So that's part of our call. While we're disappointed that we're not at the 100%, we also want the Department of Basic Education to provide clarity and to be transparent about the actual number of schools still using pit toilets and schools that are not part of the SAFE initiative. We want clear plans and clear timelines. But there needs to be accountability, absolutely, Arabile, for how did we get here? Why along the line has this been able to happen for more than a decade? And I think that's something the Department of Basic Education has to respond to. What has happened? Why? And have people been held responsible or accountable for this project not being finalized already in 2016, never mind 2018 or 2020 or 2020, sorry.
Okay, so accountability and responsibility, definitely one. Surely then trying to accelerate this isn't necessarily a monetary problem, because that has been thrown at this, right? It's not a money problem.
No, I wouldn't think it's a money problem. I mean, unless someone's run off with the money. This SAFE initiative has been, the schools that we're talking about has been in place since 2018. So as you said, surely it's been budgeted for. And whether there's issues with contractors, etc., I think that's why we need a little bit more clarity on what's happening, because it can't be the excuse of why these pit toilets haven't been fixed. We've seen how children have literally died in feces.
Yeah.
And surely in 2025, we can't still be talking about children dying in these plain pit toilets. You know, if you look, it actually affects millions of children. If, you know, it's not just, I think in some schools they were saying they're like 4 or 5 plain pit toilets. How many children are using this pit toilet? So for now, it might be only 141 schools, but how many children is this actually affecting when we need them to be in a safe environment where they are learning?
What do you say to somebody who says, look, it's 96% of what we had in that 2018 report, at least there's progress?
But progress from when, Arabi? And this is my question. And someone asked me, but surely what's the expectation? I'm like, well, the expectation was that they were eradicated back in 2016 already, when the law said they should have been eradicated based on the norms and standards. And here we are in 2025. I don't want us to clap for something that should have happened 10 years ago. I get the minister said that there's 141 schools left, and that they're hoping by the end of June, I think they'll have like 90 of those eradicated. But I think we need to be realistic. This has been going on for way too long, and it's irrespective of who the minister is. I mean, ministers come and go, etc. But surely the department, the people within the department, and you spoke about that this has been budgeted for, have been working. I mean, the minister is not going around fixing pit toilets. So unfortunately, Arabile, this is very disappointing for us and still unacceptable. This is
ultimately still a violation of human rights, ultimately, is it not?
Absolutely. And it violates a number of human rights. It violates a learner's right to health, sanitation, education, dignity, and in some cases life, as we've seen that some children have lost their lives in this case. If we're talking about empowering our youth, ensuring that our youth get a good education, education is not merely a right, but this powerful tool for social and economic transformation. And if we want to ensure this better future for the youth for this country, children need to be able to learn in a safe and enabling environment. And this is not happening, especially in these schools where there are pit toilets. And they're, like I said, it's putting children's lives at risk, health at risk. And so it violates a number of human rights.
How can the public and communities play a role now in trying to eradicate it? I mean, they may not be able to do it themselves, but should there be sort of a reporting standard, a way for them to perhaps make some more noise around this?
I know the department has set up a app where people can report if there's issues, where there are pit toilets, etc. But I think as the people living in South Africa, we just need to continue putting pressure on the government, saying, you know, we don't accept these forever moving deadlines, these broken promises. These things need to be sorted out now. You know, we're an advocacy campaigning organization, Amnesty International. We've been campaigning on this as an organization. We're not the only organization doing it either. We've been campaigning on this since 2019. We have a petition that we will hand over to the Department of Basic Education. We've got almost 40,000 signatures. We just need to keep putting pressure on the government. I know people say, oh, but just talking about it isn't going to help. But that's what we need to do. We need to just keep putting pressure on them so that we get these types of updates, so that we get the transparency. We want the actual figures. We want the actual numbers be open and clear with us of what's happening.
Genevieve, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for chatting to us. My friend Genevieve Quintal is the Amnesty International South Africa Media and Communications Officer. Appreciate it. Hope to chat to you again.